Greetings, class. You have reached the Human K channel. Today, we're going to take an interesting trip into the world of evolutionary economics. This field of study looks at how economies work, with a focus on innovation, entrepreneurship, industry, and institutional dynamics, as well as patterns and trends related to economic growth and development. Evolutionary economics uses a non-directed method that takes into account how complicated and changing the world is. Evolutionary economics looks at how countries change over time. This is different from traditional economic theories, which often assume that things will end in a certain way. Theorists in this area focus on economic growth, productivity, and how stakeholders work together. Practitioners, on the other hand, manage the development of technology and its effects. Co-evolution is a key idea in evolutionary economics. It can be easier to understand by looking at cases that show how different parts of a socio-economic system affect each other's ability to innovate, reproduce, and make choices. In the context of e-commerce, think about the relationship between the growth of technology and the management of the supply chain. The way goods are bought, kept, and shipped has changed a lot because of new technologies like online marketplaces and automated inventory management systems. Both of these technological changes have an effect on how the supply chain works. In turn, methods for managing the supply chain affect the way that technology moves forward. This co-evolutionary process makes it possible for partners like retailers, logistics providers, and customers to work together and co-create results that increase efficiency, lower costs, and improve the customer experience. Renewable energy technologies and government regulations have also changed at the same time. As the need for clean and sustainable energy sources grows, new solar panels, wind machines, and energy storage systems are being made. At the same time, government policies and laws, like feed-in tariffs and tax credits, encourage the use of renewable energy. These rules change the way the market works and encourage more technological progress and investments in infrastructure for renewable energy. The way that technology development and government policies affect each other makes it easier for stakeholders to reach agreements. This leads to the creation of a sustainable energy ecosystem that is good for the environment, companies, and society as a whole. The rise of social media sites is an example of how technology and consumer behavior have changed together. Social media platforms are always changing to meet the wants and tastes of their users by adding new features and functions. At the same time, consumers change how they act and interact in reaction to these technological changes. Both social media sites and consumer behavior change because of how they affect each other. As people use new features, platforms tweak their algorithms and ad tactics to get the most out of their users. This co-evolutionary process creates a space where platform developers, advertisers, and users can work together to co-create results that match changing customer trends and preferences. These cases show how co-evolution in evolutionary economics involves how different parts of a socio-economic system affect each other. Through this dynamic co-determination, stakeholders come to decisions together and use their creativity to come up with results that are good for everyone. Co-evolutionary processes encourage innovation, flexibility, and synergy, which lead to the development of more efficient and long-lasting economic systems. Evolutionary economics is a multidisciplinary field that has uses in business, sociology, innovation studies, science, and technology studies, among other fields. Because there are so many different kinds of people, we can learn a lot about how complex economic systems work. To understand how evolutionary economics is based on theory, let's look at the idea of general Darwinism and how it is used in different fields. General Darwinism is a way of thinking that applies Charles Darwin's ideas about natural selection to areas other than biology. It gives economists, psychologists, medical workers, and people who study culture a way to look at and understand complex systems. General Darwinism lets us look at how human nature and cultural factors affect economic behavior in the field of economics. For example, Veblen, the founder of evolutionary economics, used this idea to argue that the economy is driven not just by rational decision-making but also by social and psychological factors. He talked a lot about the role of conspicuous consumption, which is when people use their spending habits to show off their social position. In this situation, General Darwinism helps us understand how this kind of behavior comes about and changes over time, which shapes economic systems and processes. General Darwinism gives us a way to look at how cultural practices and ideas have changed and grown over time. Similar to how biological evolution works, cultural evolution happens when cultural traits are chosen, copied, and changed. General Darwinism lets us look at how certain cultural practices or ideas become popular, spread through societies, and change the way people interact with each other. For example, general Darwinism can be used to look at the adoption and spread of new technologies like smartphones and social media to figure out how selection, replication, and variation lead to their wide use and impact on cultural practices. In the area of medicine, general Darwinism helps us understand how diseases and treatments change over time. It helps scientists figure out how pathogens change over time and adapt to their surroundings, which can lead to the growth of strains that are resistant to drugs. By looking at how viruses and medical treatments have both changed over time, doctors can use the ideas of natural selection to come up with new ways to fight diseases. General Darwinism also gives us a way to study how medical practices and treatment methods change in response to changes in society, the environment, and culture. These examples show how general Darwinism, a key part of evolutionary economics, takes the ideas of natural selection and applies them to many different fields. By adding human nature, anthropological factors, and cultural dynamics to economic research, we can learn more about how complex systems change and interact over time. General Darwinism gives us a way to think about how biology, psychology, culture, and economics interact, which makes the study of evolutionary economics even more interesting. Evolutionary economic theory, which is Nelson and Winter's alternative to neoclassical theory, looks at technology change as a process of reproduction, variety, and selection instead of focusing only on making the most money. In this idea, the way firms and industry structures interact with each other is a big part of how technology changes. It also looks at how countries try to catch up with the cutting edge of technology, looking out for the good of society as a whole in the end. Evolutionary economics is based on three main ideas: the way a system works, the passage of time, and new ideas. These pillars focus on how innovation relates to the structure and function of things, how past decisions affect the future, and how innovation itself works. By realizing that changes in technology happen over time, we can better understand how economic systems work. Evolutionary economics is built around methods for selection and feedback. Economic agents make decisions based on their preferences in a selection setting. This affects how innovation and spread happen. Technological trajectories, also called natural trajectories, make goods better and better in terms of how well they work and how reliable they are. Path dependence and creative symbiosis are important factors that open up new ways for development in the economy to change. Evolutionary economics has also begun to look at the demand side in addition to the supply side. This new view takes into account how families react to an economy that is always changing. Understanding how institutions, tools, and markets interact is important because they all change together and affect how the economy works. Even though there have been problems and divisions in the field, there is a rising need for a unified theory of evolutionary economics that takes into account different fields of study. Evolutionary economics has made it possible to study how systems, groups, and technology all work together. It has given rise to many business and social science areas. But critics say that the field can't become more integrated because it doesn't have a well-developed core theory. We need to keep pushing the boundaries of evolutionary economics. This is the end of our look at evolutionary economics for today. Don't forget to have serious conversations, and stay interested in how the economy is always changing around us. Everyone, have a wonderful day.